Hey everybody, happy Friday. It's PJ and Christine from For the Love of Dog podcast. Hope everybody had a great week. Let's see, the 12th. Okay, so it's not Friday the 13th, but too bad. That happens to be a lucky day for me. But
It,
how are you
it
doing,
is for a lot
Christine?
of people. I'm good, thank you.
We wanted to just quickly talk. We'll try to make this one short, but we want to talk about a couple of things. One is our second chance circle. It's care without a crisis. If you've seen some of our emails or our text messages this week, I feel like we're always in crisis trying to raise the next money that we need. And unfortunately, I've talked about this the last like 3.5 years we've been in this mode. And it's just because donations have slipped a little bit, not that bad because our community is amazing. But, we had revenue for different sources before. We don't have that now. And unfortunately, everything is so expensive. And I know you've heard me say that over and over and over again. And just to put it into perspective, we used to pay about 125 to maybe $175 for a spay, depending on how much the dog is worth, and maybe like, I don't know, 90 or $120 for a neuter. And, for one of our neuters, we got quoted over $900. We routinely do have a place that we use for space. So we pay about $250, I think. But, which is great, but that's just one thing. We also have vaccines and we do fecals and we do microchips and all of those things just add up. Um, and as everybody knows, we save a lot of medical dogs and a lot of seniors. So they come with a lot more bills and constant care that we have to provide. So how you can make a difference is joining our Patreon. There's like a chance circle, care without crisis, and you have these memberships. Now there are some memberships on there. If you were or are still a supporter from our kennel sponsor, which was on Patreon, we just sort of kind of rejiggered that to make it, what we need currently today, just care for the dogs. So you'll still see some of our dogs there that have all been adopted, which is awesome. But if you're welcome to join one of those if you want to. Just know that your donation will be funding and supporting dogs that are currently in our care. So we also have the $10 is the minimum. Essential care is $30. Monthly care is $55, where it supports a dog for a month. And then if you want to do a full care sponsorship at $100 a month. And again, all of these funds go directly to the care and feeding, vet care, everything for the dogs. So if you can support us that way or just share this out, we would really appreciate it. And Christine, you always have some great things to add to it. So I've taught too much. What do you got to say?
I think if people just think about what they spend every month, a $10 reoccurring donation, most people aren't going to even feel that come out of your pocket when you think about what you spend on coffee, what you spend on junk food, on the weekend. And it really does add up and make a big impact for our current dogs and the dogs that we can help down the road. So, like PJ said, I know we're constantly asking for funds, but if we can get these reoccurring monthly donations coming in, that will make a big difference in the long run. We would really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like what 30 cents a day or something like that for this. So
Yeah.
for the $10 one. And again, it really does help. It costs, us a lot of money for food. Most of our dogs are on specialty prescription foods, so that it just costs a lot, as I said. So it does help. Then we know we can count on the funds coming in. And we do have some other monthly donors on our another, plan that we started years ago. And I'm so thankful for them because I know that revenue is coming in every month and we know that we can spend, that for vet care or on prescription food or whatever we need. So remember, all of our dogs, we provide them with the best care possible. We don't try to scrimp. So I just want to make sure that you understand every dollar goes directly to the dogs. Okay.
Yeah. It's a big
So,
difference when you have your own income. You know what you're going to bring in every month with your job. And the current situation that we're in, we don't know what we're going to have every month. So trying to plan ahead is next to impossible because sometimes we, have an emergency and we don't have funds to cover it. So this is just another way to help secure that our dogs can get the care and the support that they need when they need it.
right. I mean, that's exactly excellent point. I mean, honestly, sometimes we just don't have what we know we need. So that's what this is all about. So if it means something to you, we would appreciate you if you could just at $10 a month, like Christine said, that's really nothing. It's 30 cents a day. Just that would
You
make a
can
huge difference to
you
us.
can find it in your couch.
Right, exactly. Or your car.
Yeah,
Okay. Moving on. I think people probably don't know that the number one question we get is for people to want us to rehome their pet, almost it might be almost as much or the same or more than people asking us to save a dog, right?
right.
And we get them all the time, constantly. So, um, we're going to talk about alternatives to surrendering your pet. If there's, maybe if you investigate some of these things, you can keep your pet in your home, which is always our preference, because as we all know, the shelters are overcrowded. Dogs are euthanized very quickly there, especially owner surrenders. So take it away, Christine. What are some things that they can do?
Well, first I want to make a point. I feel like things have kind of shifted to where surrendering your pet used to be the last option whenever possible for a lot of people. And I feel like things have changed now to where it's the first option. People don't want to do the homework and find out what resources are out there. We don't want people to feel judged for asking for help. We applaud you for asking for help because we want you to keep your pets. Reaching out early for help, ideally, is the most important thing. So you can start planning if you need. I think one of our biggest issues with getting dogs returned or seeing dogs in the shelter is training or behavior based issues. So if you're having problems in your home, that obviously a trainer is the first step. If you got your dog from a rescue organization, most of them have support that they can offer you. So obviously, we don't want you be returning the dog just because of a behavioral or a training issue. A lot of the other reasons we see dogs surrendered at the shelter are related to veterinary care. People can't afford a surgery, whatever the case may be, there's an issue. There's so many different resources. And again, it comes back to people doing their own research. That's what the internet's for. We want you to use it and look up things. There are places that can help with funding if you are have a low cost income family. There's always Care Credit. Uh, what was the one you were telling me about this week? Scratch Pay.
Scratch pay.
Yep.
That's pretty easy to qualify for too.
Right. So, I mean, I have Care Credit myself, and I've used it numerous times for my dog, and I wouldn't have been able to get her the care she needed if I didn't have that extra option. Um, so again, there's so many resources out there, and again, we don't want people to feel judged. We want you to keep your pet at home. Moving is another one. I'm moving into a home that doesn't accept my pet. And most people would say, well, find another place to live. And not everybody has that option, but there are websites where you can look for housing that accept certain breeds that are dog friendly. So again, there's so many resources out there. I just think people don't know about them. They're not talked about. So we hope to um, get that education out there for people. We obviously are here to help you, but we want you to do your own, do what you can first. Um, the last thing we want is for the dog to, end up in the shelter because they are going to be the ones that suffer.
That's exactly right. And just building on a couple things that Christine pointed out, research and training, whatever, do that before you get a dog. You know,
Yeah.
decide that if you're going to get a Frenchie, you absolutely have to have a Frenchie. That you better get some pet insurance, because I'll tell you that the emergency vets tell us they love Frenchies. It builds their whole practices because they have a lot of genetic issues, probably from a lot of bad breeding. I'm not saying all breeders are bad, although my thought. I don't think any breeders are good because we're bringing more dogs into this world, and we know that they're being euthanized. I have a big problem with that. That's my problem. But they have, most of them need to have the surgery so they can actually breathe. Same thing with English bulldogs because they've been bred to look a certain way now. So They have back issues. There's just so many issues with Frenchies, and I don't want to pick on Frenchies. I love them. I have two of them. I have one at mine that I rescued, another one that was a foster that has stayed around. And they're expensive. We've spent a lot of money on them, but there's nothing wrong with that. But know that going in, because there's so many Frenchies now being dumped that are so past the point of no return on their medical. It's just so sad. They have skin issues, whatever. So do that research before. If you want X, Y, or Z dog, you want a German Shepherd, that's going to take that, or a lab even. I mean, I know everybody thinks labs are wonderful and great, and all dogs are, but it takes forever to burn your energy. And just be prepared. If you're a couch potato, you're gonna have to get your butt biscuit out there a lot and tire out your dog, right? So do
Hmm.
that research before. Now, when you get a dog in, a dog that maybe has had some issues or whatever, yes, you might have them, but that's the same. Like what Christine says, like, ask for help. Would rather spend 6 months helping an adopter with their dog and training and helping them get to a place than for them to say, I'm done. And I've had people say that to me where, oh, take the dog back and train it and then I'll take it back. Yeah. No, thanks. Because if you're not going to put in that time, you're not going to do it. And that is the biggest thing for training. A lot of things are very simple to fix, but they are not quick. Just like we don't learn, you do. I can't go out skiing and then all of a sudden I can go in the Olympics, right? You have to walk the walk, talk the talk, and practice. And a lot of people don't want to put in that work. So if that's not you and you don't want to do that, then just don't get the dog because it's a lot harder on the dog when they're being returned. And as Christine said, they're the ones that suffer. And it's impossible, even with all the rescues out there in the world, it's impossible for us to take every dog that somebody wants to surrender. That's why there's so many. Yeah, it's why we euthanize so many dogs because there's just not enough people. And I think there was a stat, and I think that still holds true today, that out of one out of every 10 dogs that are alive today will, find a forever home. And it's a hard stat. And I just don't want you to contribute to it. So um, there are ways, if you, as Christine said, there's sites that you can look for to help with vet care. There are foundations that will help owners, that can't afford things. Obviously, it would probably applies to that. So do, again, care credit or scratch pay. Housing is, I know it's hard, especially we live in California. I live in Orange County. A lot of the apartments are owned by the Irvine Company. They do not allow pit bulls, right? And a lot of other, bigger breeds. So it's really hard if you have that dog to get something. But you don't have to get out in a place in one of the apartment complexes. Look for the independent people who have like a house or a home or whatever for rent or a room for rent because they're more lenient and they'll usually allow pets. And so that's just something, again, it takes more work, a little time. But if you know you have to move, then do that. So anyway, if you absolutely do have to surrender your pet, and again, we do know sometimes it is just, and some people are very heartbroken over it, but sometimes that happens. There are other resources out there. We do have one on our website. You see here, you go to our homepage, you click on Rehome-a-Pet. We have a partner we work through, and that you can actually put your pet up on the site, and it gets fed out to a lot of different people, and you can rehome your pet that way. And it gives you a lot of resources and a lot of information. So I say tips for doing that. If you have to, make sure you have a good picture. If you have a dark picture and it's the back of the dog, he's probably never going to get adopted, right? So just go there. It is a resource. I think there is a cost, but it's really nominal, like $5 or something like that. So again, do that for your dog because he or she deserves that. As you decided to get the dog didn't decide to get you. So, do that.
And also don't feel bad trying to, I mean, if you're speaking to someone about rehoming your dog there, don't feel bad to ask them for references. Don't feel bad to ask them to, for their vet as a reference. I mean, don't give your dog away for free. We see that all the time on Craigslist and Nextdoor. I see it every day. People are giving away dogs, and it's nice and refreshing to see how many comments I'm seeing now with people yelling at the person, telling them, "Don't give your dog away for free." Do make sure you interview them. Like, do a home check. I mean, just because there's one person that comes and says they'll take your dog, if you don't feel good about it, move on to the next person. I mean, make sure you feel comfortable in the place that your dog's going.
Agreed. I say this a lot to people, and I think they probably think I'm crazy, but um, there are worse things than a dog being euthanized, humanely euthanized,
Right.
because people do shop those sites for they sell your dog to research. They might do dog fighting. These are not fun things, or they just don't care. Maybe they just don't care. I want a free dog. I want a free dog. Even if it's nominal, even if you charge them $25, whatever. Just to know that they have some skin in the game. I'm not saying, listen, I am sure Christine too. I've gotten plenty of my pets over the years for free. They've always been well taken care of, but in my experience in rescue, that is not always the case. So I agree. Just don't dump your dog. Again, you decided to get the dog. So whether you bought the dog, rescued the dog, found the dog, or whatever, you decided, you made that decision. So now just stand by your dog and do the right thing for him or her, because they deserve it.
And hopefully, if it's a situation where you just need like a temporary place for your dog, I mean, that's where not being afraid to ask for help comes in. Ask friends, ask family. If you're recovering from surgery, if you're, going through something, most people are willing to help if they know that the dog is going to go back to its owner and they're not just going to dump the dog on you. So, as long as you have a plan and a realistic timeline, people often are willing to help.
Yeah, and we do that too. I mean, like if you, we get so many calls and so many emails like, I have to move the dog by tomorrow. Okay, you know what? We're only human. We don't have all the resources in the world. I wish we did, right?
Right.
So plan, because if you do need help, I don't even mind posting a courtesy post on our site, which, we do get a lot of eyeballs on our site. Or even, and even if I say this because with love, but and as long as you're not crazy, because I don't even mind. Our team will do interviews or help you kind of steer you towards the right adopter. But then, if you're crazy and you start giving us all these, well, no, I'm not that, and this and that, and I have to do that, and they have to check in with me every month, then I'm not going to be wanting to help you because you're making it harder on everybody, right? So again, we don't mind helping, but plan ahead. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I would say do everything in your power to keep your dog if you can, because there's too many people who've given them up. And unlike Christine, I will judge you because I feel like you didn't do your homework, you didn't want to put in the work or whatever. And again, I do know there's some people who absolutely have no choice, and there are some reasons that and those are the people that we help because I understand that's what they're going through, and they also try to help too. So they're not just going, "Hey, I want you to take my dog and I'm out of here." So. And I think there's been a lot of shifts recently. I think it was I want to say it was Pennsylvania. Now I can't remember. Some of them are really considering pets as family, and so you know there's ramifications when it comes to pet custody and things, and what you do with your pet. So I think that's good, and I'd like to see that more of that happen. So, but we'll see it in the future.
Yeah, I would too. And I'm still waiting for the day when I can start writing off my pet expenses.
Amen, sister. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, I think that I asked that question. It's so funny. Nobody answered me. I asked that question one time in an email. I'm like, you know, email me back if you've ever been tempted to take your dog off on your taxes, claim your dog on your taxes. But yeah, that would be nice. I think it would be great. However, if you are a foster and you buy your foster dog supplies,
You
you
can write
can
that off.
take that off. Yeah,
Yep.
you can write that off as a claim. So just another reason you should foster.
And your
Speaking
adoption
of which,
fees.
absolutely, because they're all donations, right?
Yes.
Speaking of which, we still need a foster for Charlotte. So if anybody's out there, please, 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 please share Charlotte. She has a temporary place, but honestly, it's fine. It's just not going to be. It's not going to be permanent, and we need some place for her to go. And she's a really great dog. So
I mean, look at that face. How could you not
I
want to
know,
help her?
I know she's so cute.
We
It
love
was
her.
cute.
We're still open. We would love to hear from you guys in our comments, suggestions about future topics. We do have a few ideas planned for upcoming episodes, but again, we drop a comment on YouTube. Feel free to DM us on Instagram or Facebook, or just email us at info@thelittlereddog.org and give us if there's any topics you want to discuss. We're even open to having, more people on the podcast to discuss things. We love our community. We want to involve our community. You guys are what keep us going and saving more dogs. So we want to be in this together.
Absolutely. And Christine reminded me, I think the our dog park episode was pretty popular and somewhat controversial. So if you love dog parks, I'd love you to come on the show. We're not going to attack you. I just want to get your perspective. And if you hate dog parks, I want you to come on. And I would love to have that, yin and yang pull because I think that people really feel one way or the other. And I think that's something I would love to hear from people who actually use them with no problem, never had an issue. And then also for people who maybe have had issues and that's why they don't use them anymore. But yeah, we do love you. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.